Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the franchipreneur who owns one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson, and if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. We have a great show this morning. We're meeting with Sean Fitzgerald of the Wireless Zone Franchise Opportunity. Founded in 1988 as the car phone store, Wireless Zone has become the nation's largest independent wireless retail franchisor and was ranked the #1 franchise in this category by Entrepreneur Magazine. And that's coming up in segment 2 of Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Franchise Interviews. For over 2 years now, Franchise Interviews has been giving you an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship.
Through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising.
And our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisors, franchisees, franchise authors, experts, and attorneys.
And our free franchise newsletter, which is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise.
And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919.
That's 610-905-2919.
Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment, and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the franchipreneur who owns one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. How you doing today, Don?
Great, doing fine, Marty. Week's
Good.
Pretty busy as usual. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's been a busy week. Once again, it goes by so fast, doesn't it? It's
right.
Just, feels like 5 minutes from the last show, but yeah, it's a pretty windy day out here in Pennsylvania. I suspect it's the same thing over there in New Jersey.
Yeah, pretty windy, warm, but
nice,
very
yeah.
windy.
Thank God, it is warming up in this part of the country, so I think we kind of made it through the tough times, as far as the winter goes. But our last show, Don, we had a fantastic show. It was a franchise that was kind of in your backyard, right? It was Dan Burrell of the Jersey Mike's Franchise Opportunity, and I realized, I've been a fan of their franchise for a long time, and I realized they started back in 1956 in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. What were your thoughts on last week's show?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to that show, like you said, right in my backyard, and I've been, using their product for years, and definitely a great show. Dan did a very good job, and I thought it was I mean, anybody out there who's considering a QSR food type franchise, and you're considering this franchise, you'll really learn everything you need to know just by having Dan on the show last week. Really talked about a lot of aspects of the business and the success they're having.
Right.
And he's out in California. It's always interesting if a franchise is successful in one part of the country. You just wonder how it's going to do in other parts of the country. But it seems like he's doing very well and building the brand out in California.
Right. It sounds like one of the questions we always ask is, what kind of franchisees are you looking for? Once again, it's a pretty common theme on our show over the last 2 years. I mean, they're really looking for someone who has strong interpersonal skills.
Right.
I mean, he says, he can tell almost like in the first minute or two, as soon as he, shakes a prospect's hand if they're going to be good at running a Jersey Mike's. I mean, teaching them the business, that's the easy part.
Right.
I mean, it's the interpersonal skills that's really important. So, yeah, and I mean, if for our listeners, if you've never had Jersey Mike's, again, because they're not all over the country, really is out of this world, and I'm glad that Dan said it. It's about the oil and the vinegar. It's like that's like their secret ingredient, and it's almost like it's almost like a drug. It's almost like coffee. I mean,
right. There
is an addiction. If you've ever had Jersey Mike subs, you crave it, and I know after that show I was dying for a Jersey Mike sub, so I was struggling that show, in the last 15 minutes I was just
I know
really
you're going
hungry.
into too much detail on the show.
I was going to say, oh, please stop, it's like you're killing me. I'm here in Pennsylvania, it's I'm not in New Jersey anymore, so.
Okay, we know the sandwich is good. Let's talk about the history. Yeah.
Exactly. So I thought he did a fantastic job, and
how about their training? 360 hours. Over
I know.
A couple of months. I mean, that's some serious training.
No, absolutely. And it's so important. It sounds like the training is even ongoing and continuing, which we're hearing a lot today. It's absolutely. They're fantastic. I'm expecting a lot of growth from those guys, and I'd like to have them back in the near future. So it was a really good show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we have going on today? And
well, today, Sean Fitzgerald, Wireless Zone. You just talked about them a little bit, so want to hear all about their growth and what they have going on. And
that's an interesting industry too, isn't it? I mean, if you think about it, Don, talking about like things like the cell phone and stuff like that. One of the things I talk about in marketing, is the cell phone's really becoming like the new internet. It's marketers are aggressively going after customers on their cell phone because that's the one thing that you always have on you. I know you probably have it right next to you right now, and I have mine right next to me. So it's really, and it's constantly changing. So I'm excited to hear what Sean has to say about this whole industry and the franchise itself.
Definitely. A couple of weeks, Marty, because next week, this weekend, my company, Diamond Financial, will be exhibiting at the International Franchise Association in San Diego.
Wow, good for you.
Looking forward to that. That's, a bunch of franchisors nationwide go there. They're in training sessions and going through different things there. So they'll all.
Are you sure you're not going to the beach? I mean,
well, last year
you'll come back with a tan and then.
Yeah. No, last year they had the IFA show in Orlando, which was very nice.
That's right.
A nice place to have it this
year. Yeah, they always having a nice climate. Yeah.
Year San Diego, so looking forward to that. And then
great.
in 2 weeks we're having Steve Biegelman, CEO of Hollywood Tans, on the show. That's February 26th.
Okay, good. And we have March booked as well. I mean, that's going to go up on the website. I'm not going to say who it's going to be yet. It'll kind of be a teaser to get people to go to the website, franchiseinterviews.com, or our show page on Blog Talk as well.
Right.
And check out. We have some really exciting shows coming up over the next 2 months. So, a lot happening. So, very exciting.
Good.
They had some interesting announcements and articles and things like that as well.
Yeah, here through Bloomberg.com, Marty, Tim Hortons and Cold Stone are going to form 100 co-branded stores. It's pretty interesting. Tim Hortons is Canada's largest restaurant company. And then ice cream chain Cold Stone Creamery. I've worked with them and for years, and people nationwide are familiar with Cold Stone now, the premium ice cream brand. They'll create 100 co-branded stores in the U.S. to expand sales throughout the day. A 3-month test of 2 stores in Rhode Island led to double-digit percentage gain in sales, says Kevin Blackwell, CEO of Cold Stone parent Kahala Corp. The companies are also developing menu items that incorporate products for both restaurants. Tim Hortons is looking to broaden its American presence after they've had a tough third quarter. They had to shut down some locations in the New England area.
Mm-hmm.
The coffee shop chain competes with McDonald's, Starbucks, and Dunkin' Donuts at its 500 U.S. locations. Cold Stone, which allows customers to choose from a variety of toppings on their ice cream, wants to expand customer traffic during mornings and midday. This truly hits that morning and lunch day part that will help drive sales, Blackwell said in a telephone interview. So we've seen this in the past. A couple bigger name brands, going together to try to help both companies. So
absolutely. Yeah, and there's, a lot of even franchises on their own. The one that comes to my mind, I think they call them the godfathers of co-branding. I guess would be Yum Brands, right? They've done a lot of co-branding, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it always seems to work. I really haven't heard of too many situations where co-branding not working.
Yeah, I've heard the situations I've heard where it hasn't worked well. Sometimes I guess going from 2 to 3. Sometimes doing 3.
Right.
Could be a challenge.
Right.
But not that it can't be done. But I've heard wonderful things about co-branding. So I think it's a great concept.
Here's something, Marty, through the Associated Press. Older workers turn to franchises in recession. This is by Dave Carpenter out of Chicago. It starts off, Kevin McAvoy Rogalski keeps her year-old business operating on a short leash, and that's a good thing. Operating a Fetch pet care franchise with husband James out of their home has proven to be a rewarding second career for the early retiree. It's the one job where I can honestly say your clients are always happy to see you, said the 56-year-old Yonkers, New York woman.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of older Americans with an entrepreneurial bent have started new careers in recent years by buying small franchises in everything from beauty shops to home maintenance to tax preparation. The option is likely to draw more interest as baby boomers age and a bleak economy get laid off. Opportunities could be hard to come by. In the recession, the nation's more than 850,000 franchise businesses employed 9.8 million people and had estimated revenues of $839 billion last year. Franchising offers the chance for additional income and a new direction for people in the latter stages of their working careers who either don't want to retire or can't afford to.
Right.
Boosted by a brand name, training, advertising, and an established business plan, a franchise can ease the struggle and risk of opening a business and still let you call some shots. Retirees and near retirees won't always find it a walk in the park, though McAvoy Rogalski's daily rounds. Hefty startup costs, which may range from $20,000 to $150,000 to buy part-time or smaller franchises, don't guarantee a profit. There also are royalties, licensing requirements, long-term commitments, and the franchise company's ultimate control to consider.
Mm-hmm.
There are golden nuggets in franchising, says Scott Shane. We're familiar with him, of course, had him on our show. He's professor of entrepreneurial studies at Case Western Reserve University. There are great franchises out there where if you buy into them, you could make a lot of money. Many franchisors, such as Fetch and Honey Baked Ham Company and Cafe, actively recruit the 50 and over crowd. The International Franchise Association, which represents franchisors, franchising suppliers, advertises on the AARP's website.
Wow. That's different, isn't it? I haven't seen that before. Actively going after this market. I remember, when the auto industry, when having a lot of problems there was a lot of franchisors actively going after prospective entrepreneurs in Detroit, But
right.
Wow, that's kind of interesting if you think about it. Marketing on the AARP website, it's
franchising's become so big. We see certain franchises are out there recruiting young adults soon after graduating college, or
that's clever.
Going after the military background people.
Right.
So
it's thinking outside the box again. It really is. It's doing something. I think this is something a little different. I haven't heard of it before, and
right.
You and I are pretty much on top of all this stuff. So I think that's fantastic. I think there's a lot of great franchisees in that market, 50 and up,
And I think the recession had something to do with it because a lot of people maybe were just laid off or took a buyout package, aren't really quite ready to retire or financially can't, just like this article says. So what do they do,
Right, but they probably have the funding, I suspect, to get into franchising. It's not like a younger group, in the 20s to 30s, where money is usually a pretty big obstacle at that time,
Right.
So that's very interesting.
It goes on. They've got School of Hard Knocks experience in finance and business skills that they can apply on day one at a franchise business, says Matthew Shea, President and CEO of the Washington-based the franchise group, the IFA. McElvoy Rogalski became the primary partner in a Fetch franchise 6 months after taking a buyout from the pharmaceutical company where she worked. Walking dogs, being outdoors, controlling your own hours sounded like a welcome change from years sitting at a desk. And James, 56, a former hospital security director, and now retired on disability, would be her co-partner and do a lot of the paperwork. Buying an existing franchise cost $20,000. Additional startup costs, including licensing, insurance, totaled about another $2,000 since then. Operating costs have been modest. They talk about their gross revenues a little bit, how they feel a lot of potential to really start growing the company. And she's saying it's better than what she expected for the first year.
Wow, that's good. That's good to hear.
For retirees that are active, that like walking and love animals, it's a perfect way to earn some extra money, she says. So what does it say here? It goes on. Opening a type of business that will withstand the economic slide is also an important consideration. It's paying off for Hank Walker, 66, of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, kind of your neck of the woods. Mm-hmm. He had the foresight to select a comparatively recession-proof franchise before retiring from his job as a school administrator 4 years ago. Hank and his wife, Sue, settled on youth sports photos as a good business to pursue, drawing on his lifelong interest in photography and her office management skills. Aided by a half-dozen stringers, he shoots pictures of school and league teams in multiple sports. The couple took over a TSS photography franchise for about $50,000 in total startup cost. Sure enough, the business has continued to do well even in a downturn.
That's great. I mean, it's always great to hear stories like that. You know, the very first, I don't know if you remember this, the very first interview we did, because Franchise Interview started off as a newsletter, it was like 4 years ago, was with a husband-wife franchisee. They're called, I remember, they were called the Hortons, and they bought into a Quick Herb franchise. And her background was she was exceptional in marketing. Well, he was more hands-on, you know, and the two were just kind of a perfect match, you know, not only for husband and wife, but just great business partners as well, you know.
Right.
You know, so I always love stories like this, you know, and it seems like we're seeing it a lot more frequently now, you know. So I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing. I guess it depends on, you know, do you like working with your wife or not, you know, and your skills complement each other as well.
Yeah, that's a good point that Matt Shea brought up. I mean, these people are all seasoned.
Right.
And, you know, they're used to the work hours and have some money to invest. And, you know, they've been through some tough times. They're hardened a little bit, and they're all set to go. So.
The one concern you always go back to, though, you have to just make sure, you know, sometimes it's harder. I hate to say to teach an old dog new tricks, you know, but, you know, in your 50s and 60s, you know, are you still teachable? You know what I mean? You know, a lot of times I think that's probably maybe one of the biggest obstacles. I think anybody could be teachable with an open mind, but I think you have to realize that you have to be open. You know, you are now the students. You're not the.
Well, that's a good point. That's where a franchise consultant can come in and really ask those type of questions, and for the franchisor to determine whether, based on their interview and their discussions, whether they feel that person will be a good fit.
Right. It goes back to basic franchise 101, doesn't it? You know, I mean, again, following the system. You know, are you teachable? Are you coachable? You know, these are things that we, you know, frequently mention on the show. So, but I think that's a fantastic article, and I think it's very important. Yeah.
Here's something else, Mar. The Journal-Gazette, the title Meal Ticket, Franchises Offer Established Product for Small Businesses by Sherry Slater. You know, these stories are always interesting. Marika Hamilton knows what goes into creating a successful small business. She worked with her parents as they built computer software firm Britannia, Inc. into a thriving company. Hamilton also knows her personal strengths and weaknesses. She excels at working with others, giving great customer service, operating in a fast-paced environment, and maintaining clean surroundings. So when she decided to branch out on her own, Hamilton put computers behind her and opened a Jimmy John's Gourmet Sandwich Shops franchise. By becoming a franchisee, the Fort Wayne woman could focus on her strengths while relying on the corporate staff for product development and marketing expertise. She says, I like the fact I didn't have to be the be-all, end-all to the business. She says, I didn't want to take the time to cut my teeth from the ground up. The franchising sector grew by more than 41% from 01 to 05, the most recent numbers available. According to the IFA, sales increased to $881 billion, while sales of other businesses grew by 26%. I think we've gone over that, how the franchise industry sales.
Yeah, it is amazing, because you talk about the doom and gloom sometimes of the economy, and here you have all these, a lot of positive numbers when it comes to franchising, so it is quite interesting. I like how you mentioned, or they mentioned in the article, Don, this woman, she took an assessment as far as what her strengths and weaknesses are. I think that's very important, to take a good, honest look as far as, what are you good at, what are you not so good at, and be honest with yourself, or even ask other people, what do you think I'm good at, what do you think I'm not so good at, and, to determine that match. But it sounds like this was a pretty good fit for her from where you're going. Right.
A few more stats. During the same 5-year period, franchise operations grew by 140,000 businesses, or 18.5%. That compared to a 15.9% increase in all businesses, according to the IFA again. Mm-hmm. New franchises creating 1.2 million jobs. Some people invest in franchises after accepting corporate buyouts, kind of like the last article talked about that. They lost their job. In these tough economic times, more people are receiving pink slips. By joining a company with a proven track record, they take some of the uncertainty out of starting a business. The variety of franchises available is almost endless and extends well beyond fast food. Facials, clothes, legal documents are among products and services sold locally by franchises. It goes on, says Hamilton first met with Jimmy John's in 2004 as she was exploring franchise options. She signed the contracts in early 2006 and opened her store in October of 2006. In an unrelated business decision, Hamilton's parents retired in 2006 and sold that company. And it says, although she's not much of a cook, she liked the idea of a sandwich shop, and she likes Jimmy John's because it uses basic, fresh ingredients in its food. There's a certain honesty to it. It is what it is kind of thing, she said. So I guess she likes the simplicity,
right,
and that she doesn't have to go through all the, the rough and time constraints of starting up a business. She just wants to start making money quicker and get the training, have a system. Kind of like reminds me of those guys we had on from Fish Window Cleaning.
True.
They knew what they were investing is pretty simple service.
Right.
We've talked about Jersey Mike's, and it's not so to speak.
It's not rocket science,
yeah.
As you say. It's not. She's not a chef or a cook. It's just really following the system. And again, it really goes back to interpersonal skills, and having a personality. I remember Daryl from Jersey Mike's talking about just greeting the customers, just the importance of greeting the customers, just little things like that. It's just so important, and doing it over and over and over again, not just the first 5 customers, but every single time. That's their system, that's important. So, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the guests we've had on the show, they talk about just, getting out in the community, just building your business, and just building up that clientele.
Right,
it's something simple. Just to speak to your customers. I think that's even what Dan was saying on Jersey Mike's last week. It kind of becomes people start going there because they know they might run into some friends or see people they know, and it's kind of a comfort zone.
Right.
And then they're getting that consistency of what the product they're buying.
That's true. You're making me hungry again. So.
Yeah. I'm doing that on purpose.
No more sub-franchises.
Yeah, they're banned for 6 months.
Exactly, I'm always starving after the show, so.
We talked about Cold Stone before. Maybe you're starting to think about ice cream, too.
That's true. So, well, that's good. It's very, very good articles, very, important articles. So why don't we take a break here, Don, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchise Interviews. For over 2 years now, Franchise Interviews has been giving you an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship.
Through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising.
And our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisors, franchisees, franchise authors, experts, and attorneys.
And our free franchise newsletter, which is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise.
And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919.
That's 610-905-2919.
Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the Franchipreneur who owns one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. And as we were saying earlier, Don, we have a great show this morning. We're meeting with Sean Fitzgerald of the Wireless Zone franchise opportunity. And Wireless Zone was founded in 1988 as the car phone store. And Wireless Zone has become the nation's largest independent wireless retail franchisor and was ranked #1 in its category by Entrepreneur Magazine, so that's fantastic. Hey, Sean, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome, Sean. Sean, joining us is my co-host, Don Johnson, and Don is the president of Diamond Financial Services, and I know you wanted to say hi, Don.
Hey, Sean, how are you today? Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we always like to start off asking our guests, where are you calling from this morning?
I'm actually in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, good. Okay, so how's the weather there today?
It's a lot better this morning than it was last night. We got the wind, so it's probably heading your direction.
It is. It's here.
Yeah, we already have it.
It's here right now in Pennsylvania, and I think it just hit Don as well in New Jersey, so that's fantastic. Sean, I thought we could start off talking a little bit about the history of Wireless Zone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wireless Zone, like you said, was started about 20 years ago, which is really phenomenal considering that the wireless industry has only been around for 25 years.
True.
And the company started in Hartford, Connecticut, and they were the car phone store, and obviously they were selling car phones. And as the demand for car phones grew and became more of a wireless device, and they decided to switch over to the Wireless Zone, and they started growing franchises and grew to about 250 stores a couple years ago before we really kind of launched our national expansion just recently.
That's great. So you have a nice history and a lot of experience, over that period of time, which is so important in franchising.
Absolutely, yeah. They've, like I said, been franchising since 1989. So the majority of their time has been franchising. But the neat thing is that it's really, as they have grown, so has the wireless industry. So the two together have been really nice growth.
That's fantastic. It's amazing how the cell phone has changed over time too, Sean. If you look at the history of it, if you go back 20 years ago and what it looks like today and just where it is now, it's just going to be funny showing our kids, our first original cell phone. It's really incredible.
It's truly phenomenal. If you look at what even technology in say the last 2 or 3 years.
True.
Everybody was using phones as just a phone, but today with texting and music and video and
Take
GPS.
a picture.
I have a GPS on my phone. I used to have a TomTom, but I got rid of it because I have my BlackBerry. I have a GPS on it, so I always have it with me. So no matter where I am, and I travel a lot, I can just get on my phone, just plug in the address, and it's step-by-step directions. So, and now they're broadcasting TV on cell phones. So it's going to, it's just really amazing what the technology they keep coming out with, and that's what's really kind of spurring a huge demand. And for the first time in U.S. history, the cell phone has become the most valued device. It's more valued than a computer, than a television, and it's just going to continue with the more things that they constantly come out with. It's just amazing. Every single month there seems to be a new type of feature that cell phones can do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I saw you guys were ranked, I guess I should congratulate you guys too, Sean. You ranked the #1 franchise in your category by Entrepreneur Magazine. What's made Wireless Zone the leader in the industry?
Well, I mean, part of it's the history. We've been around for so long, and we have so many good best practices, and I think really it's our proven system. The fact that we've been doing it for so long and that we know the wireless retail industry is really what makes us the leader. The fact that we have such a strong support system. We have about 100 employees, and we do not have any corporate stores. So we have about 100 people supporting our franchise system. We have a very extensive training program. It's 4 weeks. We have a couple weeks in our training center. Then we actually have training stores throughout the country where the franchisees go in and work in the store for a week. And then they come back for a final week in our headquarters. And then we spend another week in their store before they open. In addition to that, we have an extensive ongoing support system. We have about 20 field representatives who are in charge of certain market areas and work with our franchisees as business consultants to continually grow their business. So the fact that we've got a proven system and we've been improving on it for the last 20 years, and the significant support that we have makes us a leader. And also the fact that how we're positioned ourselves in the marketplace. We've just redesigned our showroom this year, so we have a new multimedia store. It's very dynamic, very unique to any type of cell phone store that's out there. And it's very inviting, and we want people to come in and look at what all the different opportunities there are for phones. One of the things that we position ourselves in the marketplace is your local wireless professional. So with cell phones 3 or 4 years ago, or even 5 years ago, people just wanted a phone that they could talk on.
Right.
Well, today, they do so much, so people have a lot of questions, and they want to know what's the right phone they should get, what's the right plan, and all of the accessories. So that's where we really position ourselves, and that's where we come in, because we want to create a consultative sales process so they can come in, they can look at the phones, we can match them up the right phones, the right plans, and the right accessories.
I was going to talk, Sean, about just being so much competition in this industry. It's incredible, but maybe that's what sets you guys apart, what you just mentioned. There's more questions, there's so much more to know. These phones can do so much more. You really need a specialist to really explain it all, besides also the buying plan. So it seems like you guys are right on top of that.
Yeah, I think the shift in the marketplace is what's happening is, like I said, 3 or 4 years ago, if you just wanted a phone, you could get it at a gas station.
Right.
But anymore, it's like any type of device that gets complicated. People are going to have questions. They're not going to feel comfortable going to a gas station or a grocery store to get a phone, especially if you want a BlackBerry. And what's the difference between the new BlackBerry Storm or the BlackBerry Curve? And what is best? What can I use it for? How I want to use it? And so that consultative sales process is really key, and that's how we differentiate ourselves from the competition. There is a lot of stores out there, but not a lot of people are really focusing on creating a great customer service experience. And that's what's made us successful, and that's what will continually make us successful. And that's what we focus on as a franchisor, is how to stay ahead of the curve, and not only technology, but helping customers and matching them up with the right products.
Any other trends? You just talked about kind of where the retail industry is going. Any other trends at all?
Well, like I said, the technology it's just going to become a more device that people use every single day. I just read that now a lot of the airlines are going to let people use their cell phones to not only just check in, but also to board the airplanes.
Wow. The
devices are just becoming used more readily. There's a new interesting package out there that's called Chaperone, and you can actually, for your children, you can get your children a cell phone, and you can actually track where your kids are going. So you put your cell phone in their backpack, and you can go on your cell phone and see where they're at. And so if they leave school, you can get a text notification that they left school. And when they get home, you can get a text notification that they made it home safely. So it's just amazing, the technology, and it's just going to continually increase. It's just the ideas that are coming out are just phenomenal.
Yeah, that is incredible.
Oh,
yeah, and that technology is available today. So there's so many things that these phones can do that people don't even know, and that's why people come to a wireless phone store. There's some of the things that they can show them and talk to them about, and that's why it creates such a great retail experience, because people come in for a cell phone and then they're amazed at all the things they can do.
Something. Why is Wireless Zone exclusive with Verizon Wireless, Sean?
Well, that's a good point. We are an exclusive agent with Verizon Wireless, and there's a lot of benefits to that. Number one, from business standpoint, the cell phones are used on the carriers exclusively. So you can't take a, say, Sprint cell phone and use it on the Verizon network. So as a business strategy, when people come into our store, they know we're exclusive with Verizon.
Right.
And so from an inventory standpoint, we stock strictly Verizon phones. So if you were trying to do, say, multiple carriers, you would have to stock a BlackBerry Curve for all three carriers, which dramatically increases your overhead and your inventory levels. In addition to that, we are exclusive with Verizon, so we co-brand with Verizon. So the outside of our stores say Verizon Wireless Zone, so we get the strength of co-branding with one of the largest marketers in the United States.
That's fantastic. What have you guys done to recruit more and better candidates, Sean?
Well, there's one of the things that we've done, and from looking at it from a franchise perspective and finding great candidates, is increasing our exposure, especially on the internet and our website. We've really focused on their SEO, the search engine optimization from our website, but also the pay-per-click campaigns. We've also done a tremendous amount of PR that has helped us drive traffic to our website. So there's a lot of things from the lead generation, the website, our materials, and also our process. We have very skilled franchise development people who work with franchisees or candidates and talk to them about what their interests may be, and also helping them make a decision on if this is the right business for them.
What are some of the specific characteristics, Sean, you look for as you're looking to find and partner with different entrepreneurs and potential franchisees? It's
funny. It's not to sound like a broken record, but I heard you guys talk about it before. But it's really the right personalities, people who are very proactive.
Right.
We want people that this is not a type of business, and I don't know of a business where you could just sit back and collect money. So you really have to be. We're looking for people who are proactive, people who want to be actively involved in the business. I always say that the line that if you build it, they will come is only in the movies. You got to really, you got to go out there and get involved in the community. So someone has a very smart business mind, an appreciation for marketing, but I think the most important thing is the understanding of franchising and the appreciation of the system and following the system. That's probably the biggest key, is that when you are buying a franchise, you're essentially buying the best practices in the system. So if you understand that's what you're buying, you're more likely to follow it, and your likelihood of success is going to be much greater. If you're just buying the business just because you like the industry, but you don't really follow the system,
right,
then your likelihood of not doing well is high. So that's really the key, is the right personality, someone's proactive, and they understand the value of a franchise system.
And then in this case, people have to just realize that they have never been in a retail-type environment before. I guess it's up to you guys to really educate them on, them having to adjust to that mall-type hours. And
retail is essentially, it's a different business if you've never been in it before. So some people have retail experience, it's easy, but it's really, retail is essentially no different than any type of sales, other than the fact that it's face-to-face more. So it's about just greeting people and making sure that they're treated well, and creating a great experience. And
right.
So that's something we really go over in our training. I mean, if someone understands, has a very outgoing personality, you could do fine in retail. And that's the things that we teach and train, and how to package products and services, how to greet customers, how to handle situations and things like that. So one of the things that we've done over the last few years is really beefed up our training department. When I started with Wireless Zone, I started with them a couple years ago, and that's when the company decided to really expand out of New England and the Mid-Atlantic. And one of the first things we had done is beef up our training program. We actually have a store within our training room, so we can actually slow down the process and work with our franchisees and in a virtual store. So it gives them the opportunity to kind of role play without being actually in a store. So one of the things that we've done is really beefed up our training program to help people understand and learn the retail environment.
Makes for a smoother transition. It's a good idea.
Absolutely. And then we put them in a real store to work for a week before we actually have them go and open up their store.
So obviously with this rough economy, we're in a recession. Has it affected Wireless Zone at all? I mean, it seems like it's, would this seems like it would be a recession-resistant type business because people more or less kind of have to have this now. They have to have a cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, we are continually growing, and I hate to use the term recession-proof, but recession-resistant. But people need their cell phones, and if someone is going to, like I said, it's the most valued device in the United States. So if someone's going to make some cutbacks in their life, they might get rid of their cable. They might, say, not have high-speed internet, but they have to have their cell phone. You have to be in communication with. If they lose their job, they're going to still have their cell phone on their resume and things like that. So people aren't getting rid of their cell phones. So the demand is definitely still there. And from our perspective, this is a great time to start a business. The real estate market, especially on the retail side, is very lucrative for people who want to look for leases now.
True.
We're getting landlords. 2 years ago, it was. I'm not saying tough, but there was not a lot of negotiation from the landlords.
Right.
Today we're getting
flipped now. It's
fun. We're getting 6 months free rent, 1 year free rent. So it's kind of like the old analogy. You want to, sell high and buy low.
Right.
Well, right now, if you're going to go and look at a lease of a retail space, today's the environment to do it because you can lock in several years and get some phenomenal rates with a lot of room for negotiation. So
good point. One of the most important aspects of the franchisee is that lease, and we've had people on the show, Sean, discussing different aspects of the lease, how much that you can negotiate on the lease. But now it's really more, I guess, a buyer's market. The new franchisee being great position, open up, keep the overhead low, get a real nice lease, and so I can certainly see that's a strong aspect here.
Yeah, so you got the cost aspect. I mean, our investment is relatively low for retail. It's approximately about $150,000 total investment.
Right.
So from a franchising perspective, we're on the low end of things, and we're in an industry that's very dynamic. It's growing, and most importantly, it's really fun. It's actually a really fun business to do, and so many people love their cell phones. It's amazing when I travel around a lot. I'm on airplanes. I start talking to people, and it's just a conversation about phones. Everybody loves talking about their phones. They like their phones. They like tinkering with it. They like playing with it. And, imagine a business where, you're doing that every single day, and it's always changing. And that's the thing that's really exciting is that every single day there's new phones coming out, new technology, and so there's just this buzz in the industry. And it's a great opportunity for people who like kind of gadgets to get into an industry that's growing and very dynamic.
And it's not a big investment. Someone buying a cell phone, and people are always going to be happy getting this. People are happy getting their phone. They know they're going to have it a while. They know it does a lot of cool things right now. So I imagine a lot of people smiling while walking in and out of the Wireless Zone stores. Oh yeah,
it's everybody wants a cell phone. I have a little 7-year-old girl who wants one. So from children to senior citizens, everybody wants cell phones. There's a cell phone for every demographic. There's cell phones out there that are designed for the senior citizens that have the bigger numbers, much easier to use. Mm-hmm. There's cell phones for little children that just there's no dial buttons, but there's 1, 2, 3, or 4 that are pre-programmed, so you can give it to your child and say, here's, press 1 to call dad, things like that. So there's a wide range of demand, and like I said, everybody's doing it. And it's a fun business. It's clean. It's retail. And it's fresh and cutting edge.
And there's a nice repeat sale factor, too, I imagine, Sean. I guess as the technology changes, people are, again, breaking their cell phones and things like that, and getting accessories for their cell phones.
The average person keeps a cell phone for about 18 months.
Okay.
So,
nice.
And it's amazing when the new phones come out, how many people want to upgrade and get new phones.
Right. Exactly.
And there's a tremendous amount of accessories as well. I mean, from the car chargers to the belt clips to the Bluetooth technology now, where it's a wireless. You can plug it in your ear and you can talk, and instead of having it's no longer a wire there. And also speakers. You can have your cell phone and your MP3 player and have Bluetooth speakers. So there's amazing amount of accessories as well. So you have the people buying new phones and upgrading their phones continuously, and all the different accessories. So
yeah,
are you having numbers, Sean, on the industry?
Specifically?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the specific, but it's fairly large, in the billions, obviously, as far as the growth in technology. I think the last I had seen was like 160 million users, I believe.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Probably even bigger than that.
Yeah.
It is just incredible. It's interesting, Sean, because even I'm a marketing professor for Kaplan University. We're talking about like new courses. I mean, mobile marketing is actually going to be a course. In a lot of colleges and universities. Marketing to people on their cell phones. Because that's the one device that they always have on them. You were saying earlier. I know when I've left my house, or Don, or usually leaving your house without the cell phone or your BlackBerry, you feel lost all day. I mean,
absolutely.
So it certainly is a necessity. So I think it's a great industry to be part of. Absolutely.
Yeah, and like I said, it's continuing to grow, and now you have some social networks like Facebook, which are adding mobile to it, so you can get on your BlackBerry and update your Facebook. So it's just continually expanding. It's definitely interesting.
What is a typical day like for a franchisee, Sean, if there is such a thing, as a typical day, from like the moment they open the store to going home at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a very similar retail experience. They open. It's not real early, but usually our stores open around 9 or 10 a.m. They're open till 7 or 8 p.m. But there's a constant flow of people coming in, and like I said, it's not a very challenging industry. I mean, I said you have your inventory turns over very quickly, so it's not like you're sitting a lot of inventory. I mean, most of our franchisees probably at least turn their inventory, at least on their phones, at least once a month. So you're constantly changing over turning over your inventory. So you're not doing a lot of sitting on a lot of inventory and trying to do a lot of dumping of slower products. But it's a very friendly and fun environment. I mean, people like buying these cell phones. It's not as if you're selling insurance or anything like that, where it's people are very excited. It's very unique. I mean, it's fun. They love using it. They love talking about it. And they spend a long time in the stores just kind of tinkering and playing with it.
Yeah, and I guess this is where the training really comes in handy too, the ongoing training, Sean. Is because this technology is constantly changing. To keep your franchisees up to date on all this hot technology. I mean, even just the scenario you described with being able to track your children. I mean, I didn't even know that technology was out there yet. I mean, I was suspecting it was going to hit one day, but I didn't even realize it was there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's where I think we stand out, and we understand that this is a high tech industry, and things are rapidly changing, and that's why we have such an extensive support program. So we have support on the technical side, but we also have support on the business side, and helping our franchisees maximize every opportunity. And like I said, matching what phones with the right customer. To give you an example, just a recent the BlackBerry Storm just came out, and that was around Christmas time, and everybody was rushing to the stores to get the BlackBerry Storm. But one of the things about the BlackBerry Storm that traditional BlackBerry people don't like about it is the fact that the BlackBerry Storm is all graphical interfaced, so there's no keypad. So if you're used to and you like to and you're always texting and emailing using your keypad, you may not like using the Storm as much. So people coming in, you can then, say, well, if you're your traditional BlackBerry user, you may like the Curve, which is a different phone and different opportunity to use. So staying on top of technology is one of the things that we do as a franchisor, that we can always stay ahead of the curve, so our franchisees are ahead of the curve. But then also the business side of things, how to manage the inventory. Like I said, they change it over so quickly. The phones are changing pretty rapidly, so you don't want to bulk up on a lot of inventory that you're eventually if you can't sell, and all of a sudden becomes obsolete 6 months later. So teaching them how to manage their business properly, how to manage their inventory, manage their employees, and things like that are very crucial in this industry, and that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on, the strength of our ongoing support and our support team.
And with so many components of the phone now, Sean, I imagine it's a very low percentage of people online ordering phones. I guess part of it's the excitement of being in the store and seeing it and having an employee show them. That's probably the case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of those devices that someone wants to go and test drive, for lack of a better word. Like I said, there's so many questions and concerns. To give you an example, my father had called me up and he said, I want to get a new phone, and I'm thinking about getting a BlackBerry. And I said to him, why do you want a BlackBerry? He's like, well, I want to be able to get my emails. Well, my father's retired, so he probably gets 2 or 3 emails a day. But I said to him, I was like, well, that's kind of an overkill because you don't really need a BlackBerry. I said, do you know that just about every cell phone that's out there you can get emails on? He's like, oh, I didn't realize that. And so I said, you can get this cell phone, then, it's not as expensive as a BlackBerry. You can get this plan. And so that's kind of the example. I think people understand that these phones do so much, and there's some confusion on what phone they need, what plans they need, the accessories to go with it, and, and a recommendation. Like, there's so many Bluetooth headsets out there, but which one works well with the BlackBerry, or which one works well with LG, or which one that these people use. So our franchisees are wireless professionals. They live this every single day. They're using this technology, and so it's nice to know. It's kind of like using an analogy of a pro shop is to a golfer, and you're going in there and saying, getting the right advice on accessories. And I don't see people gravitating towards the internet just because of the fact that it's changing so much, and they want to talk to professionals and find out what is the right fit for them.
True. As far as the customers, Sean, do you work with a lot of small businesses as well? I mean, you guys get a lot of small business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably one of the biggest potentials in this business as well. I mean, we're definitely retail, but small business is a huge opportunity for our franchisees, and going out and securing small business accounts. So that's another huge opportunity for our franchisees to capitalize on.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So a lot of our franchisees will have their retail stores. We teach our franchisees that you're not up a store. You're actually buying a franchise, a market area. So you have to market your market area, essentially. So we have the retail store, which is your central hub for all of your business, but it's nice to have maybe some outside people generating small business accounts, and also getting involved in the community. We were talking earlier, I heard you guys talk about getting involved in the community. That's one of the things that we really emphasize with our franchisees is getting involved with the Chamber of Commerce, getting involved in the community, and being that local wireless professional. And that's really the key to our success.
That's fantastic.
What are Wireless Zone plans for the future, Sean?
Well, we're continually expanding. We just in 2008, we opened up the Midwest and the parts of the South. So we have stores from Minnesota down to Texas and all the way east. So we're going to continually to grow in the Midwest. We saw a lot of growth in the Midwest, and we anticipate continually growing in the Midwest and the South. And then probably later this year, early next year, we're going to start expansion into the West. So we still have a tremendous opportunity, a tremendous growth opportunity as a company and as an organization.
That's great. How can our listeners get more information on becoming a Wireless Zone franchisee, Sean?
The best way is to go to our website. We have a very dynamic website. It's really neat. There's a lot of information about phones, but also our franchise opportunities. So it's wirelesszone.com, and you can learn more about us there.
Okay, great. We'll also put a link up on our show page as well, so this way our listeners can actually link to that as well. And I want to thank you again, Sean. You've been a fantastic guest, and Don and I would like to have you guys back in the near future as you guys continue to grow.
Absolutely, would love to.
Thanks so much, Sean. You have a great day today.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Great concept, huh, Don?
Yeah, I mean, look at the potential. Like you said, everybody from, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years old, all the way up to
think about it, yeah.
old age. And, you know, just not always, it's just good to have for safety a lot of times.
Right.
Or like an emergency situation, your car, you break down, you're out in a kind of remote area, you know, you have the cell phone. You can do so many things now. It's
you have to have it on you, you know. I mean, it's I know I feel lost a couple times that I've left home without it, you know. But I was thinking as Sean was telling the story, I said, well, wow, I said, your kids are turning 5. I said, in a couple of years, they're going to ask you for cell phones, you know. So it's just, but it's a great service. I think it's well needed, you know. It's really, I mean, this is a necessity, you know. I mean, that's.
And Wireless Zone really knows what they're doing. Look at their training. Look at they're on top of everything. So I'm not surprised to see their success they're having.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this is a fantastic guest. So for our listeners, go to franchiseinterviews.com, subscribe to our newsletter if you're listening for the first time, and get tips as far as how to become an exceptional franchisee. Go to gofranchise.com, franchisefunding.net, and we have off next week, don't we, Don?
Yes, and then a couple weeks we have Hollywood Tans coming up in a couple weeks. We'll still have a nice show next week. I'm sure we'll be replaying one of our recent shows.
Yeah, we'll play an archive version of one of the shows. We'll get that going, you know. And again, don't come back with a suntan because they'll know that you were at the beach. So
no, too much work, too many hands to shake.
Exactly. All right, Don. Well, you have a safe trip, and I'll be talking to you in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye-bye.